Hello everybody, welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. As always, I am your host, Zero Yeti, and we're doing today Dinosaur Day Part 2. And similar to last time we did Dinosaur Day, we covered one specific formation. We're mixing up a little bit. We're still going to be covering primarily one formation with some other animals from around the area from slightly earlier time periods. And we're focusing on the Winton Formation from Australia, as well as some other iconic Australian dinosaurs, because honestly, the land down under doesn't really get represented a lot when it comes to talking about dinosaurs or dinosaurs in media or prehistory in general. And so I thought it'd be neat to dive into that as opposed to like the Hell Creek Formation or the Flaming Cliffs in Mongolia, which it's not to say we won't do those possibly another time, but I wanted to kind of focus on some underrepresented dinosaurs. I've been rambling enough. Let's get into it with the first dinosaur of the week being Australovenator, which is a genus of Megaraptor theropod dinosaur which lived in the Late Cretaceous period and was found in the Winton Formation in what is now Australia some 95 million years ago. It is known from partial cranial and postcranial remains, which were described in 2009 by Scott Hucknall and colleagues. Although additional descriptions and analysis continue to be published, at 6.5 feet tall and 20 feet in length, Australovenator is the largest theropod from Australia known from substantial remains, although opalized fragments of slightly larger theropods have been found at the Lightning Ridge in New South Wales. Australovenator, as well as these other specimens, appear to pertain to the theropod group known as Megaraptora. The majority of Megaraptorians are known from the southern continents as well, with South America being home to the most. And all the southern continents were once united in the supercontinent Gondwana. Although there is a possible Megaraptoran, which is Fukururaptor, known from Japan, the skeleton of Australovenator sported long, muscular legs which would have allowed to run at considerable speeds, as well as allowing for surprising agility. The jaws of Australovenator were rather lightly built, and the teeth that lined these jaws were serrated but rather small. The most unique aspects that Australovenator possessed were its remarkably long and flexible arms, with each hand bearing 3 fingers and each finger bearing a wickedly curved claw. The inner 2 claws were particularly large and strong, with recent studies demonstrating that Australovenator's fingers were also capable of extension far beyond those of any other sampled theropod, with only Dilophosaurus having capabilities even near it. This study concluded that Australovenator's flexibility, facilitated by a combination of traits in both primitive and advanced theropods, played a role in its prey capture, giving it the ability to grasp prey towards its chest, making it easier for its weak jaws to disembowel food. In life, Australovenator appears to have favored riverine and wetland habitats where it would have fed on a variety of organisms such as fish, turtles, crocodilians, small to medium-sized dinosaurs such as Ankylosaurus, Ankylosaurians, Hypsilophodonts, as well as amphibians and insects. There is a possibility that if Australovenator hunted in groups, they could have brought down even larger prey, such as iguanodontids and even juvenile and infirm sauropod individuals, such as Diamantinasaurus and Winton, which it shared the Winton Formation with. Speaking of sauropods, next up we're going to an Australian sauropod, of which there are several known, but I'm going to go with one of the most unique ones, which is Diamantinasaurus. I hope I'm saying that right. Diamantinasaurus is a genus of titanosaurian sauropod from Australia that lived during the early Late Cretaceous around 95 million years ago. The type specimens of the genus is D. mentilidae and was first described and named in 2009 by Scott Hucknall and his colleagues based on fossil finds in the Winton Formation. Meaning Diamantina lizard, the name is derived from the location of the nearby Diamantina River and the Greek word saurus, which means lizards. The discovery of Diamantinosaurus ended a pause in the discovery of new dinosaurs in Australia, as the first sauropod named in over 75 years. Along with Australovenator, Diamantinasaurus has been nicknamed after the Australian song Waltzing Matilda, with Australovenator being called Banjo and Diamantinasaurus being nicknamed Matilda. Winona Titan from the site was dubbed Clancy as well. The find was the largest Australian dinosaur discovery since that of Muttaburrasaurus in 1981. Diamantinasaurus was relatively small for a titanosaur, reaching lengths of around 50 feet and weighing in around 20 tons. Like other titanosaurs, Diamantinasaurus sported a small skull with delicate pencil-like teeth and big nostrils. The body was somewhat squat, with broad shoulders and narrower hips. Robust forelimbs with elongated metacarpals, which are embedded in the palm of the hand, and it also had a reduced number of bones in each finger. Like other titanosaurs, it is believed Diamantinosaurus had bony plates in its skin called osteoderms, which would have acted as protection and defended the animal against both environmental conditions and predation. However, direct evidence of osteoderms in Diamantinosaurus has yet to be uncovered. Speaking of environments, like the aforementioned Australovenator, this sauropod dwelled primarily around rivers, lakes, and wetlands, where it would have fed on large quantities of plants, including ferns, ginkgos, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. Next up is one of the more hard to pronounce dinosaurs, which is Leaellynasaura, meaning Leonellan's lizard. This is a genus of small herbivorous ornithischian dinosaur that lived throughout the early Cretaceous era Australia between 118 and 110 million years ago. It was first discovered at Dinosaur Cove, Victoria in 1987 by one Michael Cowell during a dig run by Tom Rich and Pat Vickers-Rich, who described it and named it after their daughter, Leonellan Rich, in 1989. Leaellynasaura is a relatively small dinosaur standing around 1.5 feet tall and measuring just over 3 feet in length. By far and away the most interesting aspect of Leaellynasaura anatomy was its incredibly unique tail, which was comprised of some 71 vertebrae and measured 3 times as long as the rest of the body combined. Additionally, the skull of Leaellynasaura has large eye sockets, as do those of other small arthropods found elsewhere in Australia, indicating they were active in low-light conditions. At the time period in which this dinosaur lived, Australia would have been within the Antarctic Circle, and although this latitude was significantly warmer during the mid-Cretaceous, because of the Earth's tilt, Leaellynasaura and its contemporaries would have still have been living under conditions with extended periods of both daylight and night, especially during winter when the sun might not rise for months at a time. There is evidence that it survived the long polar nights by burrowing into the twilight forest floor. Excuse me. Additionally, it is believed that if Leaellynasaura possessed feathers, it could have insulated itself against the freezing polar weather by wrapping its fluffy tail around itself in a form of insulation, not unlike what modern squirrels do today. Next up is not a dinosaur, but if I'm talking about Cretaceous Australia, I would be remiss not to talk about Koolasuchus, which is an extinct genus of brachiopod temnospondyl amphibian in the family Chingutisauroidae, wherein the fossils have been found from Victoria, Australia, and date back to 120 million years ago to the Aptian stage of the early Cretaceous, making Koolasuchus the youngest known temnospondyl amphibian known. The first remains of Koolasuchus were on Earth during 1978 at a fossil site known as the Punch Bowl near the town of San Remo. Over the next 2 decades, several more remains would be uncovered. However, specimens weren't officially named Koolasuchus, which is named after the paleontologist Leslie Kool, until 1997. Estimated to have reached lengths between 13 and 16 feet and weights upwards of 1,000 pounds, Koolasuchus can be distinguished from other temnospondyl amphibians by its large, rather wide, rounded head with tabular horns projecting from the backside of its skull. In life, Koolasuchus acted as a large aquatic predator, filling a niche similar to those of crocodilians or giant salamanders, and the crocodilians were notably absent from the southern continents during the early Cretaceous. Although capable of walking on land, Koolasuchus primarily lived in fast-moving rivers and other cold bodies of fresh water, where it primarily fed on a variety of animals, including crustaceans, fish, early mammals, turtles, other amphibians, and even small dinosaurs such as Leaellynasaura and Timnis. Eventually, as Gondwana continued to split apart and the planet began to warm overall, crocodilians eventually moved into what is now Australia and outcompeted the last of the Temnospondyls, driving Koolasuchus to extinction some 100 million years ago. Next up is Kunbarrasaurus, which is a dinosaur that was previously labeled in the genus Mimmi, but has been since distinguished as its own species. And is an extinct genus of herbivorous ankylosaurian dinosaur that lived throughout Cretaceous Australia some 105 to 100 million years ago. The first specimen was unearthed by one Ian Lever at Marathon Station near Richmond in Queensland, Australia, at around 1989. Ivor soon posted the ankle of the new specimen to the Queensland Museum, and when it arrived, Dr. Ralph Molnar and Dr. Mary Wade quickly realized it pertained to an Ornithischian, or bird-hip dinosaur, and in early 1990, a Queensland Museum team led by Ralph Molnar and the University of New South Wales, led by Dr. Paul Willis, collected the bulk of the specimen, which was later taken back to the Queensland Museum. Soon it became clear that what Iris had discovered was the most complete non-avian dinosaur skeleton ever discovered in Australia, and Molnar initially concluded that the remains belonged to the previously discovered Australian ankylosaur Mimmi. However, after further examination with more advanced technology, Molnar reassigned the specimen to its own genus Kunbarrasaurus, and the genus name was derived from Kunbarra, which is the word for shield in the Maya language of the local Wimmera people. Measuring around between 6 and 8 feet in length, it was a very small ankylosaur, but no less sturdily built and heavily armored. Unlike most dinosaurs, there was direct evidence of the diet of Kunbarrasaurus thanks to well-preserved gut contents, which proved that Kunbarrasaurus lived throughout coastal forests, where it acted as an understory browser, feeding on fruits, seeds, roots, ferns, and primarily woody shrubs and bushes. Next up is Muttaburrasaurus, possibly the most famous Australian dinosaur. It was a genus of herbivorous ornithopod dinosaur which lived in what is now northeastern Australia sometime between 107 and 103 million years ago during the early Cretaceous period. It has been recovered in some analysis as a member of the iguanodontian family Rhabdodontidae, and the species was initially described from a partial skeleton found by cattle grazer Dung Langdon in 1963 at Rosebery Downs Station beside the Thompson River near the town of Muttaburra, in the Australian state of Queensland, which also provides the creature's generic name. The remains were collected by paleontologist Dr. Alan Bartholomew and entomologist Edward Dahms. After a lengthy preparation of the fossils, it was named in 1981 by Bartholomew and Ralph Molnar, who honored its discovery with its scientific name, Langdoni. Measuring around 25 feet in length and 3 tons in weight, Muttaburrasaurus was a medium-sized iguanodontian, which would have been equally capable of walking on its back legs or on its back 2 legs or on all fours. The most distinctive feature of Muttaburrasaurus is its snout, which bears a raised hump at the front of the skull, which in life would have housed a hollow chamber. The purpose of this chamber is unknown, although it is suspected that this either helped enhance the herbivore's sense of smell or amplified its voice for calls and communication. Muttaburrasaurus would have lived in coastal conifer forests where fed primarily on ferns, cycads, and conifers. There is also a strong possibility that Muttaburrasaurus dealt with the colder climate of Cretaceous Australia by seasonally migrating along the coast of the inland Oromanga Sea that covered vast areas of Gondwana between 125 to 100 million years ago. And finally, the last creature we're covering is not another dinosaur, but a fairly famous pterosaur, and I believe our first pterosaur we've ever covered on this channel. Ferrodraco is an extinct genus of Angarharidid Anharguridid pterosaur known from the Late Cretaceous Winton Formation of Queensland, Australia. Additionally, Ferrodraco was found to have been within the subfamily Ornithocaridae and a sister taxon to the Mathunga, which is another famous Australian pterosaur. It is the most complete pterosaur found from Australia, being known from the holotype specimen which was initially discovered in April 2017 by cattle farmer Robert A. Elliott, and later excavated by a team led by Adele H. Pentland. Pentland and their associates would later go on to describe and name the species Ferrodraco lentoni, meaning iron dragon, in reference to the fact skeleton was found in iron stone. The specific name honors the late mayor of Wintonshire, Graham Thomas Butch Linton, in honor for his work for the local community and his support of the Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum. In life, Ferrodraco would have soared the skies over Gondwana using its 13-foot wingspan, and like many ornithocarids, Ferrodraco had a fairly short neck and large skull, which measured over 2 feet in length, and sported 8 pairs of curved, conical teeth, which it used to catch fish throughout the riverine and wetland habitats found at the interior of the continent around 95 million years ago. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Happy Dinosaur Day!